Hour 0. Dawn. You wake on packed earth, beside dying embers, inside a timber hall. The air is wet, smoky, and cold. This is not a fantasy kingdom. It is the early Middle Ages, and your first enemy is the morning. Your lungs burn before you understand why. Smoke has no chimney to escape through. It stains the rafters, the walls, the clothes, and the faces around you. The smell is immediate: damp wool, old ash, animal dung, sweat, sour ale, and wet leather. The village lives close to its animals, tools, stores, and waste. There is no clean separation between life and survival. Your bedding is straw, hides, and rough cloth. Fleas and lice are part of the world, not an accident. Even before breakfast, your body is already uncomfortable, cold, and exposed. Water is not waiting in a tap. You carry a wooden pail toward a stream the whole community depends on. It may be muddy, shared by livestock, and never truly safe. Fire matters as much as water. A dead hearth means cold hands, uncooked grain, and wasted hours. In a world without switches, heat is not convenience. Heat is a fragile possession. Breakfast is not a feast. Most ordinary meals are built around grain, bread, pottage, ale, and sometimes cheese or a little meat. You eat enough to keep moving, not enough to feel secure. Clothing is survival equipment. Linen if you are fortunate, wool over it, leather on your feet if it has not worn through. Rain makes everything heavier. Smoke makes everything smell permanent. The village is small enough that everyone can see your mistakes. Timber halls, animal pens, workshops, fields, and storage spaces cluster together. To survive, you need the group. To belong, you surrender privacy. There is no clock dividing the day. Time is measured by light, hunger, work, bells where churches exist, and the needs of animals. Nothing basic is automatic. Warmth, water, food, and belonging must be earned again. Hour 3. The daily grind. Work begins before your body feels ready. Fields do not care that you are cold. Tools are precious, heavy, and unforgiving. Agriculture is repetition stretched across seasons. If you cannot work, you become a burden quickly. Planting, weeding, digging, hauling, and tending animals decide whether winter can be survived. Most rural lives are tied to food, weather, and risk. Grain becomes food through muscle. The hand quern turns slowly, stone against stone, until shoulders burn. A loaf begins long before the hearth, sowing, reaping, drying, storing, grinding, mixing, and waiting. Animals are wealth, food, fertilizer, and danger. Cattle, pigs, sheep, chickens, and geese help sustain the village, but they also bring muck, noise, bites, parasites, and disease. Work is not separated into adult life and childhood. Children fetch, carry, watch animals, and gather fuel. Women spin, weave, cook, process food, manage households, and labor in fields. Social rank is not abstract. It decides whose oath matters more, whose injury costs more, who eats first, and who commands labor. A person's value is measured by status as well as need. A feast, when it happens, is political. Meat, ale, bread, fish, cheese, and honey can reinforce obligation. The powerful are fed, and the village remembers who provided. By afternoon, someone is coughing near the hearth. Another limps from an old break. Care exists, but there is no germ theory, no antibiotics, and no sterile tools. A small cut can become a crisis. Iron slips, splinters drive deep, animal bites tear flesh. Here, swelling and fever can decide whether you work tomorrow or whether the village digs another grave. Ancient DNA from early medieval communities shows how exposed people could be to infection. This does not describe every village, but it reminds us that disease could move quietly before anyone understood why. Childbirth is dangerous, communal, and surrounded by practical knowledge and prayer. The records are incomplete, but the risk to mothers, infants, and children is impossible to ignore. Pain is public because houses are crowded and walls are thin. Grief is public too. A sick child, a failed harvest, an injured ox. Each crisis belongs to the household, then the village. The midday meal is functional. Pottage, bread, ale, perhaps dairy, or a small scrap of meat. Taste exists, skill exists, pleasure exists, but scarcity shapes the plate. Fullness is not assumed. Fuel is another daily hunger. Wood must be gathered, cut, dried, guarded, and carried. Every warm room begins with someone's sore back and someone's time lost to survival. As weather turns, the village contracts around necessity. Wet wool chills you. Bad storage spoils food. A hungry animal becomes an emergency. Survival depends on fragile chains of labor, season, health, and luck. Hour 13. Law and danger. A pig breaks a boundary, a tool goes missing, a debt is disputed. In a small community, law begins with faces you know and grudges you remember. Early English legal materials speak often of fines, oaths, compensation, ordeal, and wergild. Your safety depends on kin, lord, reputation, and the value your society assigns to you. Oaths matter because paperwork is scarce and memory is social. Supporters may defend your word. What feels strange to you belongs to a world where divine judgment, reputation, and order are intertwined. Theft is not merely loss. A stolen animal can mean hunger. A stolen tool can mean failed work. Order depends on collective action, local responsibility, and fear of revenge. A stranger on the path changes the village's mood. Trade and hospitality exist, but so do feud, debt, raiding, and enslavement. A face no one knows can be help or threat. Violence does not need a battlefield. It can begin with insult, inheritance, debt, kinship, or hunger. Communities have rules, but those rules are personal, uneven, and enforced by people with memories. Punishment is meant to be seen. Fines, shame, compensation, and physical penalties can mark body or reputation. In a village this small, social death can arrive before actual death. By evening, the claustrophobia is clear. The village protects you from hunger, cold, strangers, and loneliness. It also watches your work, failures, debts, grief, and body. Hour 18. The long night. Sunset is not romantic, it is a boundary. Work must stop or move close to flame. Darkness has weight. Inside, night compresses the room. Faces appear and vanish in firelight. Smoke scratches your eyes. Every corner becomes uncertain. You hear breathing, animals outside, wood shifting, and someone whispering a prayer. Outside the door is almost total black, no streetlights, no lit windows to the horizon, only cloud, wind, mud, and the limits of fire. Prayer is not decorative. Faith gives language to fear, illness, weather, death, and law. But belief does not remove anxiety, it organizes it. Someone wakes to tend the embers. Letting the fire die risks cold, delay, and hunger. Even rest is divided into watchfulness, coughing, feeding, listening, and feeding the flame. By the final hours, the toll is clear. Cold has worn you down. Smoke has entered your clothes. Hunger waits behind every meal. You have not fought a dragon. You have endured an ordinary day. Hour 24. Dawn again. You survived one day, but survival is not mastery. The people of this world were not ignorant caricatures. They were skilled, adaptive, and bound to systems of labor, faith, law, and environment you barely understand. The truth is harsher than the myth. The early Middle Ages were not empty darkness. They were human life under relentless limits.